We recently visited master potter Linda Collins Chapman at her studio on Kauai's North Shore. She shared not only her enthusiasm for ceramics, but some of her expert techniques.
I've been working with clay for 35 years, and I'm still excited by the ceramic process, the cyclical nature of it. It's anticipating the changes and taking risks, literally playing with fire to get the results that you're looking for. There are parts of the process you completely lose control of, and that's what keeps me interested. When I visited the Big Island, I made an amazing discovery. I found a connection between what I create and what the goddess Madame Pele creates through her volcano, Kilauea. She transforms a molten rock into more land for her people to live on and to raise their crops and to raise their children. And the transformative process I find fascinating. What I do is not too much different. I take clay that comes out of the earth and form a piece and then fire it to the same temperature as Madame Pele's lava. And it transforms that soft, mushy clay into a porcelain piece that will last through the ages. The teapot was made for a conceptual show, and it's completely different for me. It could be used functionally, but it's really a purely whimsical, decorative piece. The sgraffito is more of my signature style, and again, we can talk about how the process is done. The pieces are made out of high-fire porcelain, and they are thrown on the potter's wheel and trimmed, and then the color is applied with a brush. It's liquid clay that has a colorant in it, and it's just applied with a brush, and then once it's dried to the correct dryness, then I use a tool to carve through the color back into the pot. So it looks like the color has been painted on, actually it's carved away. It's done exactly opposite of the way that it looks. Once I've carved the pieces and they are completely dry to the touch, I take them to the kiln room. And initially we do a bisque fire, which is just basically red heat. It's just enough to melt the silica in the clay so that the clay changes into ceramic material. But it's still porous enough they will accept the glaze. The glaze is liquid, and most pieces are dipped into the glaze. It's a very, very thin layer. After they're glazed, and I place them in the kiln, turn the kiln on, I have no control of the process. In the glaze fire, the pieces are fired to almost 2200 degrees, and it takes almost 24 hours for the kiln to heat up, and then a very, very slow cool down. So the glaze fire takes almost 3 days. The difference between the black and white and the blue and white is that the blue and white is glazed. It has a clear, glassy-like surface that is fired onto it. The black and white is fired to the same temperature, but the color is formulated to get shiny without being glazed. Initially, when I carve these pieces, the edges are very sharp and very hard. But once the piece is glazed and put into the high fire, the glaze melts and softens the edges. So it gives us this wonderful, satiny, smooth, glassy finish. The pieces that are glazed are totally functional. You can use these for food, for serving your guests, but they're also really wonderful as decorative pieces. After they're glazed and I place them in the kiln, turn the kiln on, I have no control of the process. It's up to the kiln gods and the fire gods to give me good results. I've done everything that I can do to make a perfect piece, but the firing is the final and ultimate step. One of the things I'm most fascinated by is the fact that cultures that in the ancient times had no connection to each other, had no way to communicate with each other, used a lot of the same symbology in their art. So if you look at Polynesian art, you will see a lot of the same symbols that you'll see in the southwestern Indian pottery, in the kapa cloth of the Hawaiian and the Polynesian people, in the New Zealand native art. The thing that's most striking to me and is fascinating to me is that there is a synchronicity in the use of those symbols in those cultures that had no contact with each other. I use a lot of those same symbols in my artwork. The unwinding line in the middle of the black plate, indicative of the nautilus shell, is actually, to me, it means a starting point in how your life unwinds and continues. The way that the altered pieces are made, maybe I shouldn't tell you all of my secrets, but these pieces are actually thrown upside down, and the top is closed over. I allow the top to harden, to dry more than the bottom, and then I invert the piece, and this part is still very wet and can be thrown more, so that I continue the throwing process and then alter the pot. So from side to side it flattens this way and fans from side to side to make a very dramatic piece. Thank you for sharing your time with me, and I hope you'll stop by and see me or visit one of the galleries where my pieces are shown and share the magic.
These fine galleries feature studio pottery by Linda Collins Chapman. You may reach Linda directly by email to inquire about commission work, studio tours, private ceramics lessons, and educational seminars and workshops in the art of fire and clay.